Hey guys, welcome to another YouTube video featuring infiNity the game. It's a bat rep. It's been a little while since I did a bat rep. This time it's going to be Panoceania, and I'm going to be playing Panoceania, which is not really a very regular thing. I don't play that faction a lot. And we're playing against good old buddy Garth with, old mate Garth with JSA, the Japanese secessionist army, with a few new changes, obviously, with Uprising coming out. So we're going to be playing Acquisition, which is one of the missions which we're going to be playing in a couple of weeks' time at this tournament coming up. And for this particular game, we're going to have a look around at the battlefield. I'll point a few things out. So what's happened is that I've lost the role for Lieutenant, and my opponent decided to go for a table side and deployment order. Really important, we talked about this at the start of the game. Both of us are agreed that this is an easier mission to win. If you have the last turn, you take the second turn. The reason why he hasn't gone straight for that after winning the lieutenant role is that he feels confident that he knows what to do in order to win if he's going second. But he wanted to have a practice game with, the first turn, just to see what strategy he would need to sort of undertake in order to stop me from winning if he's in that position in a tournament. So he's made the conscious decision to take a little bit of a handicap for the sake of improving his ability for winning later, and I think it's a really important point. We're looking at the table side on. You can see, let me just change the color up for this. I always use blue. So let's go with a nice, yellow for this game. So this is the middle objective here. You've got to end the game with a model touching it to control it, and you get some bonus points if your data tracking model touches it. Then also there are these two, I'll put X's next to them, noughts and crosses. There are these two consoles nearby the center line. You have to press the button with your specialist, and you have to leave your model in contact with it at the end of the game. So if we look at the right-hand side of the table and put some dotted lines through here, there are extra specially big deployment zones of 16 inches for this one, which is not usual. I'm deployed over here, so we'll put a P for Pano over here. And then my opponent with a extra specially huge 16 inches is J for JSA on this side. And I have to deploy first. I have to withstand the first turn, but we'll get into it and have a little look. My classified for this game is Test Run, which is quite nice because I'm running a list with two Flash Pulse bots, a Sensor bot, two TR bots, and an Engineer with a Tech B and a Pal bot. So this is going to be an easy one to get the classified, I'm hoping, as long as the Engineer doesn't die. By the way, I'm also taking a photo of a hidden deployment model. This is a Crockman in hidden deployment. If I just go back to this other photo here, you can sort of see my deployment zone is through here, and the photo that I just took here was of this particular barricade, and the Crockman is just tucked in there. So the Crockman, his plan is to come out of hidden deployment and work his way through the middle of the table and capture this middle thing, or go over to this point here and capture this guy here. So that's where he is situated. Going to that photo again, you can see his positioning before the game starts. All right. Okay. So, deployment zone. From left to right, this is my extreme left-hand flank, deploying a Sierra drone bot, TR bot. There's the little Pal bot belonging to the Engineer to walk over and attack him. The reason I'm not putting the Pal bot like there is that he's got missile launchers in his list, and I don't really want the Pal bot to get blown up. The War Corps, of course, generating a regular order thanks to Joan's inspiring leadership. Standing up here behind the thing, I don't really want him to flash pulse the enemy line. I want him to just stay there and live and be a 3-point cheerleader for regular orders for the rest of the game. There's a flash pulse bot down here, a lot further up thanks to the forward deployment. Krakot hidden in the shadows. He's rolling up Dogged and Total Immunity. He's got the 16-inch deployment zone plus another 4 for forward deployment. Joan, of course, Joan of Arc, way back here. She's prone. She's the data tracker. She's going to be running through to the center in the final turn of the game to try and get the big wad of points. We've also got a Fusilier hacker back up here and a Pathfinder bot handily borrowed from our old mate Jason, aka JCJF, Admiral JCJF, kindly lending me a Pano bot from the other table. Krakot, there he is, ensconced in the middle building, prone. Right-hand flank, you can sort of see a bit more closely what we've got here, but there's going to be a NIST sniper on the other side who's a reserve model. You can see a bit of a better view of him just there. So he's just really situated to pop off along the side here in case something comes along the flank, although it's also equally guarded by my other TR bot just going along that line. But more importantly, he's able to shoot across the left-hand side of the battlefield, but without immediately being in line of sight of the the Tanko Link team. They've changed their names on us now, so you've got that engineer hanging out prone behind this little barricade, just so he can just push back to either this spot or this spot and try and pick up the test run classified. Okay, this Miranda Ashcroft is representing a Tech B. Really good for being a specialist, giving the engineer more whip, but most importantly being a 5-point regular order thanks to Joan's inspiring leadership. Okay, so my opponent, he's deploying up here. He's got this new Raiden-esque sort of model, I can't remember, the Ryukin Unit 9 or whatever it's called, out through the middle of the table with a mine nearby. Prone, it's not a specialist, unfortunately. HVT over to the side. On the opposite side of this crate here, so you look at this crate, his HVT is here, and my HVT is just on the other side of it. He's got a sensor bot ready to move out here, although the NIST sniper is going to have something to say about that, and the flash pulse bot over this side here. The link team of Tankos, Domarus, and Nika Oyama, the lieutenant, obviously, hanging out in this building. One of them's up the top here, the other one's in the inside of the building. And my opponent, he's got these crazy koalas just on the table. They're not deployed yet. He's just getting ready to deploy them somewhere. So there's another missile launcher inside there, looking out the window. The other one's up the top here. There is a Aragoto with killer hacking device underneath the carport there. So pretty cool profile. He's considering deploying his tag over here, but he doesn't really want to get into a shootout with the TR bot on the Pano side straight away, so that's why he's deciding not to do that. You can see a bit of a better view of where the Tanko Link team is situated up there, and he then decides to put the tag through the middle of the table behind this total cover, so that's where he's ended up. First thing he does in this game is we have a look. Oh, why am I deleting the photo? We don't want to do that. Having a look at the start of the game, he's thinking of moving around to this specific spot here, but because of this piece of terrain being a little bit too tall, he couldn't actually quite get line of sight, as this laser pointing thing indicates, to the silhouette 2 of the NIST. So he looked at doing that to start the turn off, decided against it. This is a limited to a certain list, which means that I can't use command token to reduce his orders starting the game, but it does allow me to go around and count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Doesn't actually have any more than 10 models in the list, and none of them are off the table, so that I know he does not have any TO camo. There's no ninjas, no shinobu, no nothing. So that allows me a lot of peace of mind and a lot of reliability with my movements, knowing I'm not going to get ambushed. The tag, instead of moving around this way, around this side of the building, moves around this way instead, and that allows him to move up to these pile of crates and then move carefully across to this location here, where he does get line of sight against the NIST sniper. As he does so, the flash ball spot is also moving out, just building up position. His plan is to put the sniffers around the battlefield, then use the sensor bot to go and sensor me. His thought here is that since he has to go first, he's expecting me to just come out of head deployment with a croc ban or something like that at the end of the game and just score. So he's planning on defeating that with a sensor bot. However, I know that this kind of opponent is very likely to try that and expect that from me, so I've deliberately kept my croc man a bit further back. There's the sniffer going down. So more sniffers being placed around the battlefield. The tag now moves into action and has a go at the NIST. I was really hoping that with me needing a 13 against his 11s, although on 4 dice, that I might be able to stall him for a little bit. But no, first shot just takes the NIST out completely, doesn't even leave a corpse behind, just wrecks him. So that's a little bit unfortunate, but we are expecting the tag to win this particular shootout, let's face it. Okay, so with the sensor bot being no longer pinned down by the NIST sniper, it can now move out and actually start using its sensor, not only nearby its own position, but through these sniffers as well. So that's what happens, but amazingly, the Crocman is not discovered, despite him putting so many sniffers down. So the Ryukin moving out instead, placing some mines down nearby this objective, because he wants me to have a harder time going out later on the game and grabbing it. So he's placing 2 of these mines out in the battlefield before finally retreating in behind cover and going prone to obviously make him a bit more survivable later. The tag finds a spot in the middle of the battlefield to go into suppression fire. I need to point out that he's cleverly moved back from his position here where he was attacking the NIS, back to a more sensible position where it's a lot harder to hack him or shoot him at the correct range band. So you can see here we've got there's a mine here, another mine here, there's another mine further back over here. Just get my face out of the way. We've still got a tanko up in the building, another tanko just covering that line there, and the tag is just going to cut off the battlefield and just spread out the fire. The sniffer was very close, like half an inch away from catching the Crocman, but it didn't catch me in the end. If he had have caught me, it still would have been quite hard to get over there and actually kill him, because the angles weren't great. The Ryukin has also gone into suppression fire mode as well. So my turn, seeing that the tag has retreated and that there's a fairly big building blocking part of the battlefield from the tankos, I'm bringing out my Akali with Spitfire at this point. So Akali moving in from the side of the battlefield, trying to get some work done. Moves over until he gets to such a position where he can just clip line of sight through here, avoiding the Aragoto and hitting the flashball spot. Now, this is a bit of a gambit here. It's a bit of a tough one because I'm going up against something with mimetism cover, and I don't have cover. So his flash pulse is hitting me on a 16, whereas the bullets from the Spitfire are hitting on 10s, but with 4 dice. So I'm hoping that I can either get the better of him quickly or tank the flash pulse armor saves. But luckily, I do manage to win the face-to-face roll and destroy the flash pulse spot immediately. And, fair enough, he did pretty well against the NIS. I've done pretty well against this guy, but it is a risk. So what I can do now is I can move around a bit further into line of sight of the bike. And the bike is got mimetism, but no cover because of Impetuous. So we're pretty much on even ground there. I'm just out of range for the shotgun, so his best option is to shoot the combi rifle. But with 4 dice against 1, the Akali's definitely got the advantage here and does shred the bike. Moving a bit further through, I have to take a cautious move, which is not an ability you see that often, but the cautious move is to able to carefully get me behind this billboard, because if I don't do that, I do immediately come into line of sight of the Tanko Link team. So the Akali's got to do that first, and then very carefully moving into position to just slice onto just this model at the back, who's got a Blitzen and a Contender. Unluckily, though, after a couple of attempts to kill him, he passes the armor saves, he does get the Blitzen to fire back at me and to isolate my guy. The fun thing about that, though, is that the Akali's still there, so every single turn from now on, he can actually spend his irregular order and just have a freebie crack at actually shooting the Tankos, and if he does get lucky, removing them would really help me against the Link team in general later on. So, still happy with how the Akali performed. He could have just been blinded first order, but, you've got to try it, and there's no need to save him for later in this particular spot. Elsewhere, moving a flash pulse into a position to provide the repeater range to get assisted fire onto the TR bot, which is going to take up a position here, just to prevent the Ryukin from coming around a little bit too audaciously. Although, to be fair, the Ryukin is probably going to do a pretty good job against the TR bot thanks to ODD. Okay, Yu Ching, well, not Yu Ching, sorry, I said not even Yu Ching anymore. JSA, the Successionists, turn 2. So now the sensor bot moving around. He's doing some more censoring. Still can't find the Crocman because it's the wrong side of the battlefield, mate. And then he's going to go in and press the button on the console and also snugly find his way in here. So that's a point to JSA, but my opponent forgets that he's going to have to leave his model base to base with the objective later on, and is actually not doing that. Our friendly Ryukin is actually moving in against the flash pulse spot, but unfortunately gets flashed right in the eyes. So unlucky face-to-face roll outcome here. The flash just blinds him, and he can't really do anything else for this to turn. The tag doesn't really want to move in to Pano positions just because there's too many repeaters and he doesn't want it hacked. So with very little to achieve this turn, just decides to move back around, get into a position where he can actually shoot at the Akali and remove him. Just because he doesn't want that Akali lingering there to get free Spitfire shots at the back line. So he decides to pump the machine gun rounds into the Akali and remove him, which he does so successfully. Bearing in mind the Akali's hitting on a 16 against the tag, hitting on like 11s on 4 dice. So again, this was also a little bit risky as well in terms of blowing a lot of orders on it. And then returning the tag to his position in the middle of the table, ready to set up shop, and just wait for that crucial last turn. Okay, so Pano turn 2. What we can do now is use the, obviously the hackers here. There's a repeater here. We can put assisted fire onto the TR bot. I'm trying to move the TR bot into position here, where I'm avoiding line of sight from the Tanko Link team, which has a missile launcher line around about there. So I can avoid that, but I'm trying to get a line of sight across this side to his sensor bot. Unfortunately, though, based on the terrain layout, I'm not too sure if I have a photograph of it, I couldn't quite get line through to that. So there was going to be a line along here to the sensor bot. Didn't manage to pick it up with the TR bot, unfortunately. With my engineer, though, I'm moving around a bit further and also using the PAL bot for the engineer to move up and spending a couple of orders to get him to a specific position here. And then he can spend an order moving 6 inches out to this spot and another 4 inches out to this spot. And it's going to trigger both of his mines at the cost of a couple of orders and the life of the PAL bot. The reason we're doing that is it just makes it a lot harder for him to fend off my final sort of last turn attack on him, because there's a Krakot in this building which is, not using Impetuous, but in the last turn, Krakot's going to spring out, try to get some work done, and if there are fewer mines to trigger, all the better. So that's the PAL bot down. So here he is, final position, the mines go off, he's collecting all of them. Didn't quite manage to pick up this particular mine here though, but this one goes off, and this one goes off through the gap. Because my opponent's actually left a bit of a gap between the sensor spot and the objective, so unluckily for him, the mine is triggered. Okay, so the TR bot, instead of going after the sensor bot, moves around here and actually has a shootout with his tag, which is in this location. And there's a bit of a firefight here, and this was a bit of a frustrating one, because with assisted fire and at the correct range band, it's 14s on 4 dice versus 14 on 1 dice, and the tag is just taking all sorts of hits here. Saving with armor 7 plus 3 for cover, that's plus 10, it needs to beat a 15, so 6 pluses that will do it, so 75% chance of tanking every armor save. He ends up taking like 4 or 5 saves and passes them all. I don't get a single wound here, which is a bit frustrating, but at least I can leave the TR bot in range to just contest him in the future turn. So no work done there. Now this was the really frustrating part of the game. I decided that if I spring my Krokman now and use surprise attack to shoot at this bot here, 3 dice with the X visor no less, going to be needing 3 dice and 9s against his flash pulse needing something like 7s on 1 dice, and I've got 5 orders to work with here. If I kill him and then crawl across the here in TO state, avoiding the missile launchers, and put down a repeater here, he's going to have his entire turn, but he's going to have really nothing to move out and actually get line of sight to the repeater with. He's going to have to move his tag all the way around the battlefield, shoot the repeater, then move all the way back without being hacked, and it's going to become really difficult for him. So that was the plan. Sadly, though, the Krokman, with his surprise attack on all of his further dice rolls, just completely whiff against the sensor spot. My opponent's passing armor save after armor save, and the Krokman's whiffing shot after shot after shot. So I just burned through my entire Group 2, 5 orders, getting nothing done. To make matters worse, the Krokman can't even go back into the camo state because there's an enemy there, and it's not really worth laying down a repeater at this point. So this really put me in a lot of trouble. I really felt like the game was lost from this particular order. So my opponent, the most crucial final game round, the tag moves out. He does initially have to go in a face-to-face roll against the TR bot over here. So 14s on 4 dice versus 14s on 4 dice. My opponent is the lucky one here and does manage to get the hit and kill the TR bot. So still, things are really not going my way with the face-to-face rolls at this stage of the game. Then he can move further out into the table and contest the Krokman before the Krokman starts laying repeaters. Now, at this point, I do get a little bit luckier because the Krokman does manage to successfully dodge, pulling a bit further back behind the wall and surviving. Having said that, I'm dodging on a 12. He's shooting with his HMG up against TO Camo, so it's quite hard for him to get the hits in, but I was fortunate not to lose the Krokman at this point. Moving on, the tag just continuing around, getting into the right position, and we've got a sensor bot. Now, this is a mistake here. My opponent finally actually makes a bit of a mistake play by moving his sensor bot away from the objective to put some shots into my drones here. The reason why he's doing this is because, number one, he wants to cut down the number of orders I have to finish the game with, but also kill maybe one or two of the guys that might contest his HVT. This is a really bad move. The chances of the sensor bot getting any work done here is very low. He's up against a flash pulse and mimetism, and the TR's bot shooting him. It means he gets hacked by my hacker, and he's moving away from the objective, which he would otherwise capture or contest or control if he leaves his specialist base to base with it. So the sensor bot dies for free, makes my life a lot easier for winning later on. So this is a mistake. The Link team now moving out. He wants to reposition them just to change the fireland angles. This is a good move, getting the missile launchers to more convenient positions for him to stop Joan of Arc from moving in as the data tracker and winning the game later. So just taking up positions in different spots, moving one of his missile launchers further down, just covering off a bit of a different angle. We'll see how that pans out. So the tag, setting up shot in the middle of the table, going into suppression fire, and he's just sitting right there, and I've got to kill him or possess him or something like that, otherwise I lose the game, basically. So this is what we need to do. He's also moving a Crazy Koala into position. So my turn, the Karakot Renegade using Impetuous, a free order to move out. The good thing about this is that it immediately detonates the Crazy Koala, so that's one thing I'm not going to have to deal with my other troopers. He does get shot by the missile launcher in the Link team with the Tankos and dies immediately, and suppression fire blows him up. But not before he launches 2 of his chest grenades, chest mines, at the tag. Now the tag doesn't get cover from this, armor 7, but luckily for me he rolls a 2 and a 3 on the 2 armor saves, taking 2 wounds immediately. So at this point, luck is sort of swinging back to me in a big way. After, the Crocman did pretty poorly against the sensor bot, and the TR bot did really poorly against the tag, I'm finally getting a little bit of face-to-face rolls coming back my way. I'm sort of due for that, although this swung it back quite a lot. 2 wounds in the tag is quite significant here. The Crocman now moves out of cover and places a repeater. Now, I don't know if this is correct, but I believe that once you place a repeater, your opponent can't really affect it because it's considered on the table at the completion of the order. So I get a chance to do it, but he gets a lot of normal rolls against me. The Crocman, of course, dies after this, but I've got a repeater there, which he can't do anything about, and my hacker can spend 4 orders attempting to overlord him and possess him. If I do possess him, the tag can then be moved around the corner, body block the Tanko. There's no line of sight to Joan after that, and Joan just moves up and captures the objective for free and wins by a massive margin. But after 4 dice rolls, 4 face-to-face rolls with the tag, didn't even win a single one. Tag is not possessed after that, 4 orders spent from the Fusilier. So, sadly, that particular play didn't really work. Backup plan, moving a TR bot around the left-hand flank just to try to get into position to shoot at the Ryukin Unit 9. If I kill it, that means that his model will no longer have an opportunity to contest my HVT, and I might be able to move my TR bot a little bit closer to contest his HVT. And if I can basically kill the tag and get up on HVTs and classifieds, I might be able to win the game that way. But that doesn't work, and the TR bot dies. So the TR bot on the other side of the battlefield is revived by the engineer in Group 1 moving around. Joan's helping him out by using the inspiring leadership coordinated order to move him along with Joan getting into a better position. And the engineer, with the help of the Tech B, does revive the TR bot successfully here. So then, what I can do is I can move out with Joan. By the way, suppression fire is gone from the tag because he's been doing resets against the hacker. So Joan, with a coordinated order, moves around, and the plan here is to shoot at the tag with a combination of Joan and the TR bot in suppression in a coordinated order. And Joan is a half burst rounded up to 2, and the bot is 4 half down to 2. So I get 2 dice from 2 different angles. Only one of them is a face-to-face roll, and with the shots from Joan and the shots from the tag, from the bot, the TR bot, the Sierra. The tag is actually destroyed, takes 1 final wound, and is killed without Joan taking any damage. So that's great. My opponent may have my classified for 1 point, and he has pressed the button with his sensor bot early in the game for 2 points. I have picked up a classified now thanks to test run from the engineer, but I haven't got anything in range of his HVT, so I'm still down 2-1. So to win, I have to move Joan over to the objective, or I have to get something to one of the consoles, or I have to get his classified, his HVT sort of sorted out. But I don't really have any good options over that side of the table because there's a missile launcher there. So if we just take a little bit of a different look at it, we'll get out the pen. Come on, all right. So what I can do is move over here with my engineer, and luckily for me, there is a billboard blocking off line of sight from the building where the tanko is to actually shoot down there with the missile launcher. He's moved another tanko over here, but it's only got a line of sight along this angle. So the engineer is actually free to move over to the objective, and that's what gives me the best chance of winning. If Joan moves over to the objective, there are going to be two shootouts with the missile launcher in a link team, and that's not really going to do well for Joan. So her chances of surviving that are not great. His HVT is here. And if I move my flashball spot over close enough to it, then it's going to die. He's got his Ryukin guy here, and my HVT here, so he might be in range, but he might not be. It looks like he might be in range at this point, though. So, obviously, the TR bot being destroyed by the Ryukin, we know that that happened. Joan does move out as part of a coordinated order. Just because I realize with 3 orders left, my best chance of winning is just using those 3 orders to try and get the engineer to actually press buttons until he gets it, because that nets me a point from the console plus another point for having a specialist in base-to-base contact with the end of the game. Joan, just really hoping he completely whiffs the dice rolls and the missiles don't hit her or she passes all of your saves, but that doesn't happen. The missiles blow her up. It's just, you've got nothing to lose there. Joan's not going to give the enemy any points if she dies, so just on the very rare off chance that the missiles don't connect, Joan will be able to control the middle of the table objective. So Joan dies, and then the engineer goes in for it. The first whip check fails on a 13, but then we realize, oh, actually, the rules for the tech beast say that it's just whip checks across the board. It doesn't have to be an engineering whip check, so it goes from 12 to 13, allowing the whip check to pass, meaning that I've got a classified, a button pressed, and a special in touch with the console. That gives me 3 objective points. We count up his points. He's got 1 in contact with he's got 1 button pressed for 1, and it turns out the Ryukin was not in range of my HVT, so he did not contest it. So it's a 3-1 victory for Pano at the end of the day. Final thoughts. This is still a better mission for going second, as we can see. It's a bit easier if you have smoke grenades, as we can appreciate in this game. Superior infiltration is actually worse because deployment zones are bigger and you can't deploy in their deployment zones. Impersonation is still pretty good. Stuff Ramboing from your deployment zone to their deployment zone is a bit better because of the deployment zones. Pano, obviously, just going to be the same as any other game. They've got good things and bad things about them, but still struggle a little bit thanks to having no smoke. My opponent, I felt like this list is cool and all, but to win, it's a bit better if you have all the ninjas and Onawabans and stuff, I think, to do a lot of damage. It's very hard to sort of run across the battlefield with just a tag like this, because you get hacked, you run into arrows, and then your tag's in a lot of trouble, and there's no backup piece. The Aragoda is not really a very good Rambo piece with just the combi rifle and the light shotgun in this sort of context, so it's a much better list for defending than attacking. What you really need to do is put your models in a position where the missile launchers are going to be super effective and cover a lot of fire lanes. So I think in his final turn, he should have moved the tag in straight away and just run the tankos forward and just put all 5 of them just spread out through the middle, making it really hard for me to get the engineer or the TR bot or Joan anywhere at all. And I think that would have made life a lot more difficult. Having said that, though, if I'd just been a little bit luckier and possessed the tag can actually just move away from the objective, move into close combat with the tankos, even attack them with a sword against the missile launchers and win that way. So, yeah, not great. Losing the Aragota is not great, and being hacked is pretty bad. Just Pano Whip can't really get the hacking done. That's the only problem. Anyway, guys, hope you guys enjoyed this one. We'll have some more bat reps and video content coming next time, and until then, see you later.